Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast, college football edition. Today, we are going to be talking about those OSU Buckeyes who just took on Indiana this past Saturday. And we are finally here at another week we've been building up all season, week 9. We got the college football expert, the captain, Byron Mitchell, with us. How you doing today, sir?
I am doing good today. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. But yeah, man, let's get right into it. OSU was playing at night at Indiana. If this was the same Indiana team as last year with Penix and Vogel and they weren't injured, this would be a little concerning, but obviously they're dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. And it wasn't the same team. It was downpouring over there, and Indiana scored on their first drive and then didn't score the rest of the way. OSU took care of it 54-7. What did you think of that game, Byron? What you like, what you didn't like, stats, what's happening?
Overall, I enjoyed the game. We pretty much trounced Indiana 54-7. We scored on our first drive. They scored on their first drive. Then the rest of the way, it was just all Ohio State. Indiana couldn't do anything. Stats-wise, C.J. Stroud had another amazing game. 21 for 28 for 266 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Kyle McCord and Jack Miller got in there for a little bit. Kyle McCord had 5 for 6 for 61. Jack Miller, 2 for 3 for 35 yards. Travion Henderson had a good game, 9 carries for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mayan Williams came back from injury. He had 8 carries for 60 yards and a touchdown. Receiving wise, Jackson Smith and Jigba, 6 for 99. Garrett Wilson, 5 for 59. Ruckert got in. He played well. He had 5 for 47 and 2 touchdowns. Olave, 2 for 21, 2 for 24 and a touchdown. So we did well. Our defense had about, 5 sacks. No interceptions this time around. But defense played well. They stepped up. Overall, all around good job to the Buckeyes.
Yeah, man, they took care of business. I mean, they scored 30 points in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Like it was 14-7 at the end of the first quarter, and they scored 30 points in the second quarter, and then was on cruise control the rest of the way. Indiana couldn't get nothing. Their fans started leaving in the second quarter. I wouldn't blame them if you let a team score 30 in a quarter.
Right. It was over by halftime.
Yeah, it was over by halftime. That puts Indiana 2-5 and 0-4 in the conference, a far cry than what they were last year, where if it wasn't for a rule change, they would have been going to the Big Ten championship game last year.
Yes.
And OSU's 6-1 overall, 4-0 in the conference. So, yeah, man, you really hit everything on nail and head on. It was just another dominating performance. The offense has been clicky. It's like we've always said. We told everyone, I'm going to say it every time, we told everyone to relax.
We did.
On C.J. Stroud, and here we are.
So I was doing some research earlier. I was like, I wonder how he did before he came back from injury and after he came back from injury. So I put some stats together. For the first 3 games, we had, the shoulder injury, 6'3" for 101. 62% completed 62% of his passes, 963 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. We know he did throw 54 times against Oregon because we couldn't establish our run game. So he had that one game off against Akron. Came back. Now he's thrown the last 3 games since he came back from injury, 62 for 84, 1,002 yards, completing 74% of his passes, 14 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions.
It's crazy, and he's surged in the Heisman race. Some people have him as high as number 2 right now.
I would say from his performance, he's definitely number 2.
Yeah, which I don't know why Bryce Young is number 1, to be honest. I do feel like this is the most open Heisman race we've had in a long time because the 2 front runners for it both got benched. DJ Clemson and Spencer Rattler, who was a huge front runner for the Heisman at the beginning of the year. They've both been benched. So, and Clemson, they've not been good at all this year. Like I know we've already said, just, Buckeye fans enjoy this ride we're on. But Byron, our opponent who we're playing, which we will preview, we are playing Penn State. and they were in a history-making game for the wrong reasons.
For the very wrong reason.
They went into a 9 overtime game against Illinois, and Illinois was a 25-point underdog in that game. And Illinois actually comes out on top in 9 overtimes.
I am still shocked that game went to 9 overtimes. Because when I was looking at ESPN on my phone, they were at 3 overtimes. You guys kept telling me, oh, they're in another overtime. Oh, they're in another overtime. I'm like, how many overtimes is it going to take? Then 9 overtimes? You lose to a team that was a 25-point underdog who was like 2-4 before they came? Mm-hmm. You're what, 5-6? Not 5-6-2, but like, I think they were 5-2.
They only lost
5-1. Yeah.
They lost
Iowa. Penn State, man. And Illinois absolutely rushed all over them. They had 357 rushing yards on 67 carries, which is an average of like 5.33 yards a carry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Insane.
Illinois only threw for 38 yards. In 2021, Illinois threw for 38 yards. I'm sorry. Their longest pass was 8 yards.
Man, Penn State.
And Sean Clifford played. He just played like it was just bad. 19 for 34, 165, a touchdown. It was just bad, man, because there were so many times where Penn State could have had a pick to end the game. They could have ended the game on so many times, and they didn't get done. And that's what we talk about with like coaching and preparation. They were looking ahead. They got trap gamed.
And we thought the Buckeyes were going to get trap gamed. But
they were looking ahead. Franklin didn't have them disciplined enough to say, we need to get this done here, and they didn't do it. Then they lost in the 9th overtime, and they dropped from number 7 all the way to 20.
Well, I mean, I didn't expect them to drop 13 spots, but they lost to an unranked Illinois at 9 overtimes.
It was a 25-point favorite at home. It was at Penn State.
That's, man. Do you think there's going to be a coaching change with James Franklin?
There's been people talking about him with the USC job. The radio today, there was talking about him and potentially with the LSU job. And I guess with coaching, and I want to hear your opinion on this too, because I want to relate this back to like, you're a big opponent of getting the points instead of going for it on 4th down. Like if you go, why would you go to LSU? Like, I guess, is it a better job than Penn State? Is USC a better job? Maybe. But it's like, you're going to go to LSU and go be in the West with Nick Saban? Why? If you can't do it against Ryan Day, why are you going to go against Nick Saban?
Right. I wouldn't go to the SEC if I were him. I think USC. I think
that's the best. I think that's the least resistance over there.
Yeah, because the Pac-12, like the top teams are usually Oregon, USC. So he'll be in there, the top 2.
Stanford. There's been times where, but the only Pac-12 teams to make the playoffs was Oregon and Washington.
It's true.
In the history of the playoffs, and Oregon had the Heisman winner that year, Marcus Mariota, and Washington had Chris Peterson as their head coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Pac-12 is always a non-factor when it comes to the playoffs. Oregon's hanging on by a thread. They won 34-31, so they're trying to keep those hopes alive. And it's like, and James Franklin, which I will give him credit, he has won a Big Ten championship here in Urban Meyer era. So
that is true, but
in
still didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, because we went to the playoffs that year. So, I mean, they have been good. Like, I think prime Penn State was obviously the Trey McSorley, Saquon Barkley years. Because I think they won a Rose Bowl and that too. Like, they've done well, but when we talk about this game, which we're about to get into, like, when it comes to this game, there's been multiple years where they should have beat us and we just close them.
Yes. We were just talking about it in our group chat, that 2017 game when JT Barrett went off in the 4th quarter.
And they were up by that, and that was in Columbus. There was a game where one of the Bosas got a sack to win the game. Dwayne Haskins had a comeback at Penn State. Like they've always been in these games. Last year we won by two touchdowns, but it could have been more. That was also the game we realized Sean Wade's coverage was terrible because he was getting killed that whole game.
Facts.
But I don't like now it's a 3. Well, first off, we are also number 5 in the rankings now.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't really change. But so it went from a 5 versus 7 matchup to now a 5 versus a 20 matchup. And it's still, I mean, it's at night, ABC. I know you're really mad Penn State lost because that's where game day would have been.
Yes, game day would have been here in Columbus on Halloween Eve, 5 versus 7, and then Penn State had to go lose to unranked Illinois as a 25-point favorite.
Instead, game day, and we are here at week 9, where we told y'all about the previous week. The week that we pumped up was at 6?
6 or 7.
Yeah, we pumped that up, and you saw what happened. This is another one. This is big because now game day is going to be at number 6 Michigan versus number 8 Michigan State.
That's going to be a good game.
Michigan State at home. This is big noon kickoff on Fox. This is where game day is going to be. Mel Tucker, they should just give him all the coaches of the year right now because no one thought Michigan State would be where they're at right now.
No one thought Michigan would be where they are right now.
Well, that's true, but Harbaugh ain't getting no coach of the year stuff. He should have been here every year.
Well,
this is at Michigan State, and you know that place is going to be crazy. They've had some crazy games in the past. Mm-hmm. Harbaugh has not done good against his rivals, OSU and Michigan State. I think he only has a couple wins against Michigan State in their down years, not their good years. But
right,
this is huge because they're both in the Big Ten East.
Yes, so we'll eventually have to play them back to back at the last 2 games of the season.
And if I remember correctly, yeah, because one of them's about to lose because none of them. Michigan's 7-0, Michigan State 7-0. Mm-hmm. Both are 4-0 in the Big Ten East, Big Ten Conference overall. So someone's taking their first loss and their first Big Ten loss, which would propel us to
this number 2 spot.
Mm-hmm. This is huge, man.
Yes, this is the big game, not only for Michigan and Michigan State, but as for Ohio State. And, well, maybe not somewhere as Penn State now because they lost to Illinois. But
they're done.
Yeah. So it's a big game for the top 3 teams in the Big Ten East.
Byron, who do you have in this game?
After doing my research today, I'm going to say Michigan because they have a better defense.
Okay.
And the Big Ten, I believe don't
you like Michigan State's running back? He is powerful.
Michigan State does have a very good running back. I can't think of his name right now. But defensive wise, the Wolverines are only allowing 299 yards per game, which is number 2 overall in the Big Ten. And Michigan State is allowing 406 yards per game, which is the second worst in the Big Ten. So I think it'll come down to defense because they both have a high-powered offense through their running backs. So I think if it'll come down who can stop the running back, and I think Michigan will have that edge because they're only allowing like 116. Well, actually, their run defense is pretty even because Michigan's allowing 116 rushing yards per game, and then Michigan State's allowing 121 yards. So I'm going to just give that slight edge to the Wolverines defense because they're not allowing that many total yards per game.
Okay. So Michigan running back Kenneth Walker III, 997 rushing yards right now. Jaden Reed, the wide receiver, 502 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns. Kenneth Walker has 9 touchdowns. And Patrick Thornton, the QB, has 15 touchdowns. If you remember, there was a one game for each of them. It was like 400, 200, 300, whatever it was that they all had.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. Michigan's defense is very good. They should have lost to Rutgers, but they did not.
They should have.
But honestly, Byron, I don't like picking Michigan at all. Because the bad thing is, a scary Michigan State team, a good Michigan State team is not usually typically good for Ohio State.
No, it is not.
Because when they are good, that is bad.
There's a couple of games where they have upset us.
They have multiple wins in the Urban Meyer era against OSU, and in fact, close ones. But Byron, I'm picking Michigan just because Jim Harbaugh said we are beating our rivals, we're dying trying. So if you're going to play with that type of pride, you got to do it.
You got to do it. Like, this is Harbaugh's game to show that he deserves the Michigan coaching job. Because, like, in the past years, he hasn't proven it. That one year, he was on the revenge tour and lost both to Michigan State and Ohio State. So, I mean, if he wants to prove everyone that, yeah, I'm here and I'm staying this, you got to beat Michigan State.
Yeah, because he said we're die trying. This is it, man. This is 6 versus 8. You don't get any higher than this. That's the 12 o'clock big game. We told you this game, you're going to have big games all around. Even though this team is not as high ranked, it's still going to be the top game on CBS. The 3:30 game, number one team in the country, Georgia, Florida. Florida is now unranked. And we were previewing this beginning where they were ranked. So I don't know if Florida's going to show any pride in this game and make it close. But I just don't think they're getting past that Georgia defense, man, to be honest. And I think Georgia at 3:30 is going to be like, all right, we saw what Michigan State did. Time for us to destroy some people.
I totally agree. I don't see Florida winning this one. Georgia's defense is scary. They've shut out a couple opponents. As we said, number 8 ranked Arkansas, 37-0. The week before that, they had shut out Vandy 62-0. They're only allowing about 6.6 points per game. Their defense is scary. So if Florida can't get anything going on offense, this is Georgia's game to win.
Yeah. So unless Florida shows some pride, 4-3, this is their biggest game of the year. I mean, unless they show some pride, but I think Georgia's defense just annihilates them. So you're going to go from Michigan, Michigan State, Georgia, Florida, and then do we go straight to 8 o'clock? Well, I guess you could swig by at 7 o'clock if you want to catch a number 10 Ole Miss versus number 18 Auburn. Ole Miss they're still hanging around in that top 10.
If there's a lot of chaos, they can move up.
That is true. Ole Miss 6-1, Auburn 5-2. The West is technically still wide open because Alabama lost to Texas A&M. So there's some teams who control their own destiny. I do think, I don't know why Auburn's always ranked. I really don't. I think Ole Miss takes that.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss takes that one too.
And then you finally get to the nightcap, ABC, 7:30. Pretty sure Herbie and them are going to be calling the game. If not, then they really just said F us. Penn State coming into the shoe, nighttime, Halloween Eve. Got about 102,000 right now confirmed tickets going to be at that game. It's the Scarlet out, going to be rocking new uniforms. Place is going to be crazy. Byron, this is Penn State's biggest game. This is the best defense we've played since Oregon. What are your keys to the game? Who do you got? And this is the last game before next Tuesday when the first college football playoffs are rankings, where that's why we pick 8:30 to record so we can be in the college football playoff mode and get our reactions right after it.
This is a big game, like you said, for Ohio State to make a statement to get those first rankings for the college football playoffs next Tuesday. There's an even bigger game for Penn State to let people know we're still here. Even though we lost to Illinois, we're still here. Keys to the game, I'm going to say, are running backs because, like I said, Illinois ran all over Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can establish the run early, I don't think they'll be able to stop us. I don't think they'll be able to stop C.J. Stroud. Like I say, he's been on a tear ever since
Henderson, too.
Travion Henderson, yep. C.J. Stroud's been on a tear ever since he came back from that shoulder injury. I just don't see Penn State winning this one. But again, Penn State always has our number in a night game. So it makes me a little bit worried. But after seeing them lose to Illinois last week, I'm not that worried.
Yeah, I don't know, man, because we're gonna be watching the game together, so it's gonna be watching, having fun, taking mental notes. But the fact that Penn State losing to Illinois made this now we're 18-point favorites. And I don't remember being an 18-point favorite in a long time in a Penn State game when they're actually decent. And Penn State's they lose this, they're going to be unranked. It's crazy you went from the top 5, 7, top 4 to unranked in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because if they lose to us, are they going to beat Michigan? They're going to beat Michigan State? They still got to play them. They could be under 500 by the time this is done. I feel like if they're under 500, Franklin might be like, maybe it is my time to leave.
I feel like, I feel like this is his last season with Penn State.
Yeah. So this game, we don't know the weather too. Don't know if it's going to be raining or anything like that. But we got to establish the run. I think obviously our strength is our offense. Their strength is their defense. So we're going to see how that goes. Now on the flip side, their offense looked terrible against Illinois. So I'm expecting big things from our defense. If Penn State's starting to score all over the place, then I'm going to have more issues with the defense. But the way they played against Illinois, I don't know if they're going to get up to 20 points.
I don't think they are. But now with the way our defense is playing now, I don't know if this will be a test because Penn State's offense is not looking that great. They look great against Iowa, and then their defense just let up. I didn't really see much of the Illinois game, but going to 9 overtimes, I'm going to say their offense wasn't looking that good either. So I just don't see their offense overpowering our defense.
Yeah, and this is the end tail on the season. Is Jim Tressel used to say November is for contenders, and Nebraska will be a quick one, but then Purdue, Michigan State, Michigan. That Purdue game, now we're looking at that because they beat Iowa, even though they can't have nice things. So they can show some things, but
Purdue likes to spoil the number 2 team.
Yes, we have been there. And it was funny how Illinois' win against Penn State was their biggest, it was their biggest upset at an opponent's place since OSU of 2007 with Juice Williams in that. Yep,
they like to play spoilers too.
But I think with ABC under the lights, I think the team's going to be juiced up. And depending on how that defense goes, I really think we can hang about 40 on them.
I do think, yeah, because I think we're averaging 49 points a game.
Yeah, so, and that offense was just so bad yesterday. I don't want to say a 40-14 win, just because if Penn State's putting their heart and soul, and if we start messing up, because we haven't had any slip-ups since CJ's come back, so that's been really good, but we know how college football goes. Sooner or later, there'll be a pick that changes the momentum. There'll be this, there'll be that. So, but I think with under the lights, we're the last game. Eventually, the committee's going to be like, all right, Ohio State's back and put us in that, don't know where they'll put us in that 5th spot, but I think it's a good 45-17 win.
Yeah, I think 45-17 sounds about right.
Yeah, just from what they showed, if they would have blown out Iowa, if they would have blown out Illinois, this would have been a 1-touchdown game for me.
Oh yeah,
but they didn't, and Illinois is terrible, so that was embarrassing. Byron,
I looked up the weather. So on Saturday, it's predicted to 57, 48% chance of rain in the morning, and then at night it's going to be 48 degrees with a 24% chance of rain.
Okay. mean, we saw what they were like in the rain on last Saturday, and they had no issues.
Right.
So we'll see. We'll see. Byron, anything else going on, man? This is the last one before we have playoff rankings. That's when we really start bringing back all the scenarios once again.
Your top 4 predictions for the official college football rankings. I've been thinking about this.
Me or what I think the
well, what you would like to see, and then what you think the committee will do.
All right, let me. Yeah, I actually think I had that somewhere. Shoot. So number 1 is going to be Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
This is number 2. I would put number 2. I would put Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to do that? No. Number 2 is going to be Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Because they lost on a field goal at night at Texas A&M, full crowd, moon and all.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, I would have Cincinnati. And number 4, I would have Ohio State as of right now, because we've looked more dominant than Oregon has since they've lost, even though if Oregon starts going crazy. And then my 5 and 6 would be Oregon and then Oklahoma. Because you already know, I think Oklahoma's frauds. They just escaped again. So they're either fraud, they're the biggest frauds on earth, or the team of destiny. But those would be my top 6.
Okay. I think we're pretty much aligned, because I would have Georgia 1.
Mm-hmm.
I would keep Cincinnati at 2, because in my eyes, I haven't proved themselves not worthy of being the number 2 spot.
But you know what they're about to do.
I know they're about to probably put Cincinnati at like 5.
Mm-hmm.
So then they'll probably have Alabama as 2, like you said. If we win, I will put us at 3. Well, they'll probably put us at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, I think if Michigan wins, I want to put them at 4.
I forgot about. That's yeah.
I think they might keep Oklahoma at 4 and then have Michigan at 5 and then Oregon at 6. Well, no, I said Cincinnati at 5, then Oregon. All right, so this is what I think they're going to do. Georgia at 1, Alabama at 2, Ohio State at 3, Oklahoma at 4, Cincinnati at 5, and then Michigan at 6.
Okay. I did forget about Michigan. If they do get this top win, they could. But what if Michigan State wins? Do you have the winner of that going to 4?
No, I think if Michigan State wins, I think they'll be the 6th seed or 6th spot. I think Michigan will stay at 6, and then if Michigan State wins, they'll go to 6.
Okay. Can't wait to see, man. Live reactions next Tuesday. It's gonna be a good time.
It'll be a good time.
Byron, anything else, man? In college football. This was the big week. Another one we've been hyping up, and then we'll be hyping them up until next big one. We'll be super hyping up is the end of the year, or if Michigan State wins, Michigan State week, or if Michigan's undefeated by the time we get to them, then oh man. Any chance you see Michigan jumping us though? Because they'd be an undefeated team beating a top 6.
It depends on how well they look. Okay. If they like blow out Michigan State, then I could see them potentially jumping us.
Okay. All right. Well, we're excited. Buckeyes, Penn State, October 30th. We've been pumping this game up. Let's see what our Buckeyes do. You got a whole college football game. Again, Michigan State at 12, Georgia, Florida, 3:30, OSU, Penn State, 7:30. Those are games you need to be watching out for. And with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to the L7C podcast. Everyone take care and go Bucks. It's a big one Saturday night. Let's do it. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.